Okay, welcome to video number 17 of the Diaries of a Coronavirologist YouTube channel. Today is the 24th of April and we are just under 2.8 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 and around 196,000 deaths. So today I just want to do a very quick video. As I said in my last video, I'm currently a bit strapped for time because I'm preparing two presentations for next week. I think the one I'm doing on Thursday is going to be publicly available to up to 100 people on Zoom, and I'll be probably posting that on my Twitter page. We're also talking about recording the live presentation I do, and if we do, I'll post it here. If the recording doesn't work or if we don't do it, I intend to re-record myself doing the presentation and I'll post that here. So it'll be a slightly different style of video because it will be slide based. There'll be a PowerPoint and it'll be me talking over that. But I'll try and make that content available so that even though I'm in this little down period of doing slightly shorter videos or videos that are a bit easier for me to do quickly, I'll try and make up for it with some extra stuff. So today I want to just do a quick breakdown of a paper that we've put up on BioRxiv. So I've mentioned before that we put a paper on BioRxiv a few weeks ago and we've updated that today. So I thought I'd just break it down, and I'll of course link to the paper in the BioRxiv paper down in the description for this video so you can go read it. But I figured I'd also tell you what we did. So the last time I mentioned BioRxiv, I explained what it was, but for anyone who didn't see that previous video, BioRxiv is a bit different to how science is normally published, as it's not peer-reviewed. It's considered a preprint server. So it's almost more like a blog where you put up something that's in the format of a scientific paper, but it doesn't get peer-reviewed. So normally when you want to submit scientific work, you send it to a journal, they send it out to peers, 2 to 3 peers of yours, and they anonymously review it, tell you all the things you've done badly and tell you to do them better, and then you go and improve your work, and then it's up to appropriate scientific rigor, and then you can publish it and it becomes part of the scientific literature. Now, as I say, BioRxiv is slightly different because it doesn't go through peer review, so everything on BioRxiv should be taken with a pinch of salt. We are hopeful here, however, that the work we've put up on BioRxiv today is going to form a paper. So I am going through the edits to get it ready to submit to a proper journal, and hopefully it will go through peer review and we'll have it out in real scientific literature, let's say. So the work is following up on what we did previously, looking at FDA-approved drugs that may be beneficial for the treatment of SARS-CoV-2. So FDA-approved drugs are ones that are already being used in humans for other conditions, so we know about their safety profiles. And therefore it's a bit easier to get them into humans for the treatment of something else in principle, although it's not really been done for viral disease before. So in that work, we looked at 20 drugs that had previously been shown by the lab to inhibit MERS and SARS, and found that out of those 20, 17 were also able to inhibit SARS2. So it looks like those 17 drugs are very broad anti-coronaviral drugs, as they can inhibit all 3 of the major pathogenic human coronaviruses. So the way we screened those drugs originally at the start was to look to see if they were protecting cells from dying. So when coronaviruses infect cells, they end up killing those cells. So if you have more cells when you treat with a drug, this is a good indication that you're inhibiting replication. The follow-up work we've been doing was to take 7 of those drugs and look more directly at whether they are actually inhibiting production of infectious virus particles. And we found that all 7 that we looked at do indeed inhibit production of new infectious virus particles, so they are antiviral. The 7 that we looked at were chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine because they were making the news at the time we were doing this study, so we focused on those. Then we also included 3 other antimalarials, so chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine are antimalarials, and interestingly, our screen also had 3 other drugs that are used as antimalarials. So 2 different forms of amidaquine and mefloquine were also included. And finally, we included an anti-cancer drug, which is called imatinib, because the lab have previously defined the mechanism of how that inhibits MERS and SARS, and it was inhibiting SARS2. So we looked at that. And finally, a drug called chlorpromazine, which is an antipsychotic drug, because all the other drugs are thought to, or have been shown to, inhibit viral entry into cells. And chlorpromazine is probably doing the same thing. So it all kind of fell into the same bracket. So my work found that all 7 of those drugs inhibit production of infectious virus. So from there, we wanted to test in mice. So what goes on in a cell isn't always a good measure of what would go on in a life form, a full life form, let's say. So a mouse. So we talk about this as being an in vivo system. So this is Latin for in life, I think, largely. And if it works in mice, that's a good impetus that maybe it would work in humans, and it potentially merits trying in humans at any rate. So unfortunately, SARS2 doesn't infect mice. And as such, we had to use a surrogate of using a mouse-adapted SARS1 virus. So SARS1 also doesn't infect mice very well, and this comes down to the fact that mouse ACE2, the receptor, I'd recommend my previous video if you want a good description for receptor interactions and why they're important for viruses. Mouse ACE2 doesn't bind, or SARS1 and SARS2, sorry, don't bind very well to mouse ACE2. But by growing SARS1 in mice and forcing it to adapt to growing in mice, this was work done a long time ago, there is a mouse-adapted SARS virus that grows well and infects mice and causes disease and can kill mice. So we treated mice with chloroquine and chlorpromazine and infected them with this mouse-adapted SARS1, which is our surrogate for SARS2. While we don't have a system we can use for SARS2, this is probably a good indication for something that may be beneficial. What we found is that both chloroquine and chlorpromazine could protect mice from clinical signs of disease. So we can't ask mice how they're feeling, and we can't work out their symptoms as you can with a human, but we can look to see whether they lose weight and whether they have lung damage. And what we found is that with treatment with chloroquine and chlorpromazine, there was a decrease in the amount of weight that the mice lost, and there was a reduction in the amount of immune cell infiltration into the lungs. So they weren't suffering such a severe disease. What was interesting, though, is that there was a similar level of viral replication in the lungs with and without drug treatment. So even though the clinical disease was improved, the virus didn't seem to be hampered, which suggests that it's possibly something to do with the immune response. A lot of the issues caused by coronavirus infection come from immunopathology, so damage caused by the immune system. So we speculate that chloroquine and chlorpromazine might actually be having an impact on the immune system, which is what's protecting the mice from those clinical signs of disease. Now, I've been saying speculate a little bit there because this is now in the speculative part of the work we've done, because I've told you the data, and now we're sort of building our future hypotheses and next ideas for what to look at. So we think that chloroquine, chlorpromazine might be having some kind of impact on the immune system to protect the mice. And we therefore think that maybe these are going to be best used in a combinatorial therapy. So if you were to combine them with something that directly targets the virus, such as remdesivir, which I've talked about on the channel before, this may be a good approach to treat SARS coronavirus 2. If you have something that directly reduces the amount of virus and something that can help deal with the immunopathology that would be caused by replicating virus, maybe this is the best way to do it. So we want to get this information out in a published paper, in a peer-reviewed paper, because this may be important to know when assessing whether chloroquine is useful in humans. If it's just being used alone, it may not be great because it may not be impacting replication of the virus. And if it's used at the wrong time, then it may not work well and it may exacerbate things. And like I say, I really stress that is speculative stuff based on our results. So the results we have, the real solid science of what we have, is 17 drugs protect cells from being killed by SARS2. 7 of those I've directly looked at and found that they inhibit production of infectious virus. And then 2 of them, chloroquine and chlorpromazine, can protect mice from signs of severe disease. So they reduce weight loss and they stop immune cell infiltration into the lungs, which clogs up the lungs and limits breathing. The speculative things from that is that maybe chloroquine and chlorpromazine could be looked at in combinatorial therapy. And that's probably something we will try and do in mice once we get a mouse model for SARS2, is look to try and combine drugs and find things that may be more effective. So this was just a quick rundown of that paper. Like I say, I'll link to it down in the description for those who want to see it. And if we get it into, or if and when we get it into a peer-reviewed journal, I'll also link to that in future. And that's all I want to say for tonight. So thank you for watching. A bit of a quick video tonight because I'm a bit strapped for time. But hopefully it was all still clear. As always, please leave comments and feedback and I will try and get to them when I can. So as always, please stay safe, wash your hands, don't drink bleach. Please don't drink bleach or try and inject yourself with it or try and put UV light inside yourself. Those who don't know what I'm talking about, consider yourself lucky. And keep calm and carry on. I'm doing my best to keep calm when I see stupid comments like that. So thanks for watching.